We've been discussing what worship is. It's a response to the recognition of God's grace and mercy in our life. Most often, we think of worshiping God through song, but worship doesn't stop there. Worship is a lifestyle. Let's look again at that famous verse in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Here's what Paul says. He says, "Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." Paul says, your natural response to God's mercy should be to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God, for this is your true and proper worship. In the Old Testament, we read about the sacrificial system of the Israelites, whereby they killed and burned animals on an altar in worship to God. Now, each dead animal was placed on the altar and then consumed by fire. They were single acts of worship, meaning that the same animal could not be repeatedly offered. It was one and done. Now, in this verse, though, Paul is describing and drawing a contrast between the dead animal sacrifices of the Israelites and the living sacrifices we offer towards God today. You see, the old sacrificial system was fulfilled once and for all through Jesus' final sacrifice on the cross. And now, we don't worship with the same sacrifices of animals offered over and over and over again on the altar. Rather, because of Jesus, we ourselves are the living sacrifice, repeatedly giving our praise and honor to God every day in every way. Worship is not just what happens when we sing on Sundays. God calls us living sacrifices, meaning our entire body, our life, our time, our hobbies, our relationships, our jobs, everything we do, every moment of the day is an offering of worship to God. Paul said this in Colossians 3. He says, "And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him." Did you catch that? Whatever we do. He says it again in Colossians 3:23. He says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Whatever you do, do it as you're doing it to the Lord." Worship is a way of life. How do you manage your work? It matters to God. How you honor your marriage, you serve your spouse, raise your family, all of that matters to God. How you spend your money and your free time matters to God. What you look at with your eyes and what you speak, your words, even what you think about matters to God. Every area of our life is an opportunity to recognize who God is and what He's done for us. By pursuing excellence at work, we worship God with our effort. By tithing the first fruits of our income, we worship God with our finances. By staying committed to my spouse and serving her well, I'm worshiping God with my marriage. By choosing to serve people through my church, in my community, in ministry, or maybe even on the mission field, I'm worshiping God with my gifts and abilities. You see, everything with the right perspective is an opportunity to worship our God. This is true and proper worship. Spending your life is a living sacrifice unto Him. Yet, do you know the problem with a living sacrifice? Here's the problem. They're constantly crawling off the altar of worship. This is us. Today, we need to be reminded it's time to get back on the altar because we don't just naturally stay there. We must daily and weekly intentionally place ourselves back on the altar of worship to our God. May we do that today. Place our lives on the altar of worship. Think about everything we do and in every way worship Him.